Welcome to Prisca Theologia. Today we're going to be discussing astrophysiology and esoteric biochemistry with Dave M., who has more than a decade of research into the founders of biochemistry, George W. Carey, as well as Dr. Schussler, who was able to understand that all healing takes place on a cellular level, and the ability of this cell salts have even been used by the ancient mystery schools to help promote a sense of well-being in the mind, the emotions, and the physical body to prepare for the rising of what in the East would be called the Kundalini, or in the West, as George Carey would term it, the sacred secretion, which we'll go into in depth here. And today I'd like to talk to Dave about just coming back to wholeness and how the philosophy of the cell salts and how we're deficient, and how by recuperating these nutrients we become whole again. So
yeah. Hey, Christopher, how are you?
Good, man. Great. Nice to have you here, man.
Yeah, awesome. What sort of the things, right? And with the 12 minerals and 12 zodiac signs related to the work of Dr. George Carey, that when you start the 360-degree wheel chart, East is Aries, which is the first mineral, which is the top of the head in the human form, right? And it's always it's in the way you look at the chart that in the East, that's also the sun rising and going through its daily cycle. But you made reference to another, writings or teachings or culture in reference to the East, and I just thought that I'm sitting here looking at the big wall chart I have, and it's interesting that Aries, the first sign, is also the East.
Yeah, man, and each salt, right, corresponds to different defects of each astrology sign. For example, an Aries can manage his temper or manage his impatience through that cell salt, which would be potassium phosphate, right? So an initiate under Aries who's trying to overcome certain ailments may find that they're better able to manage utilizing that cell salt deficiency. So how exactly does that deficiency come about, right? They're in the womb 9 months. So depending on gestation period and the conception time, depending on when you exit the womb, determines that 9 out of 12, and that 3-month gap is associated with the deficiencies that you did not absorb. And that ends up coming up as bad habits, right? And bad habits, mental ailments, physical ailments.
Well, yeah, there's basically, okay, so if you look at a circle and divide it into 12, and you divide that circle into 12 equal sections, but not by the first and end of the months, excuse me, you divide that full circle into 12 sections by the cusps of the Zodiac signs. Okay, so it's a circle with 12 pieces. Okay, and so the minerals are related to the Zodiac signs. They're not, each mineral is not related to the month from the first to the end of the month, right? So we look at that from number one as how to divide that in that respect, and what's related to what. So so then that would be that's how we count year one. We don't start in this thinking and in biochemic healing and the astrological mineral composition relation. We're not thinking of life starting coming out of the womb. This is basically talking about life starting at a conception date, but we don't know the conception date. So if we have a birth date and it's a normal 9-month conception, then we know of those 12 divisions that the person was in the womb for 9 of those 12, which is 3/4 of the pie. And then from that birth date forward, counting through time and through the zodiac signs from Aries number 1 at the top of the head down and around to Pisces at the feet, the 12th zodiac sign, then we can figure out that where the conception date is, because it'll be a 1/4 slice of the pie starting at a person's birth date on the pie. So the way that Dr. George Carey, in all of his writings and whatnot, who's the founder and the discoverer of the relation to the minerals to the zodiac signs and the composition by birth, which is, we call it our lacking minerals. So we were lacking them at birth, and what that is also meaning is that we are prone to being deficient in them for the rest of our lives, right?
Yep.
So we're able to, what I mentioned was talking about life and day 1 actually starting on conception date, but we don't know it. But when we know a birth date, we can count 90 days forward on that 1-year circle, and we're able to see what the conception date is. And so the way that Dr. George Carey writes is that we receive the minerals that we were in the womb for, and we lack and prone to be deficient in the ones we were not in the womb for in that first year, right?
Yep, and generally Aries are deficient in their own cell salt, of course, potassium phosphate and so on. And potassium phosphate being, as George Carey said, the one with the highest electromagnetic charge, and it being able to be some of the most powerful salt relating with the cerebral spinal system. So I know that has been really important, and just in general, potassium phosphate has helped me personally as an Aries to just ground my mental, because Aries rules the head, Taurus rules the neck, Gemini rules the arms. So each cell salt that you restores that power onto that system.
Right. Well, yeah. Okay. Exactly. You know, if we had a reference to that chart right now, I mean, I have it pretty much memorized, but Aries being salt or mineral number 1, and sign number 1, Aries, and in the human form, that's the top of the head, which is the cerebrum, right? So what you have to consider the personal or individual traits, say, of the sign Aries, which is, you know, represented by the ram, which is tough-headed, right? So the lack in that mineral for that sign, you know, that helps to balance that out and whatnot. And, you know, we can all become over pushy or over whatever in our sign, but it's, you know, it's interesting to know the traits of a sign as compared to in biochemic healing through Carey's work, Kiesler's work, which is the equivalent mineral, and, you know, in the fine literature, what it, you know, claims to help, right? So, yeah, you're fully right. You're an Aries yourself. I don't know if everybody knows us, but we're like, I don't know, 8-10-year long-time friends. We pretty much talk every day, and we have discussions like this just normally, and sometimes we just turn on the microphone. But
yeah, man.
So, you know, it's very interesting to note. And so, like I was saying, that's in a normal 9-month gestation period. You know, so again, you know, when does that first year start? The important thing is that first year I was talking about. You know, so you come out of we come out of the womb at 9 months old, is what that's all really saying. But I think that's more correct.
Yep, and humans, we don't complete the cycle, Generally speaking, that's why they're saying we're born into sin, because that deficiency, if a true cycle would be 12 months. So even born into this physical realm, it's almost as if we're cut with like a handicapped challenge that we have to overcome. And those trials end up strengthening us in the long run. And once we become aware of ourselves and our inner navigation system, we tend to gravitate to the proper nutrients that we need to restore those. And, even the Christ in the Bible says, man will not live by bread alone. So it's not all about food stuff. It's all about air quality, inner quality of your thoughts. Negative thoughts, fanatical thoughts, obsessive thoughts burn up the salt of Aries. Breathing incorrectly, dissipates the salt of Gemini and these various factors. So all the temperaments, if used correctly, those salts maintain and the cells are healed and able to conduct a higher form of energy. And it's just interesting to note that these salts are recommended in many mystery schools of the past.
Absolutely.
And those salts, right, go into making that Christic oil. That's the George Carey talks about the seed, which is manufactured from the 12 salts. Now we also have the 12 cranial nerves, the 12 zodiac, all of these 12s. And in the body, this relates, right? Each mineral relates to each zodiac, not on a monthly basis, like you said, but from each zodiac point to each zodiac point. So yeah, it really gives a good perspective, as above, so below, in the building of Solomon's temple, and allowing the physical body to be a proper conduit for the ether or the invisible element.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is writing, whatnot, and the work of Carey was always said that it would be fragmented when he left it behind. It was said by his assistant, as Perry, who was the creating art, right? So I forget where I was going there, but yeah.
Yep, so the journey of the Philosopher's Stone, all 12. George Carey states that all 12 salts equal the blood, which is the 13th. And, some say the blood is that those nutrients at the food, right? It becomes a vapor, and that vapor feeds the blood system and all the tissues of the body. It's just, I guess the big mystery is why are we deficient in those three? Is that to temper us? Was there a time where we had a full 12-month birth cycle? Was there ever a time, perhaps in the golden age, where we were completing that cycle? And if not, what lessons or what exactly are we up against here when it comes to being deficient, right?
Right, dude. Yeah. That's you know that from when I was saying that my reference to that is why on the one book cover of Carey's that he shows that as being he grays out 3 of those 12 pipes in that circle or cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Divided into 12, and he writes across the bridge. And then in some of his texts, he mentions the bridge to God. And then that's when I was starting to think, I think back maybe in ancient times that maybe we were in the womb for 12 months. And that's why, because there's no mystery as to why the ancients, these types of cultures that were just connected to nature and knew those natural sciences, there wasn't really anything exceptional about them except that they drank pure water and eat pure food. And that's exactly what's missing in today's times, right? That we're stripped of, especially in the water supply.
Yep.
Because I believe that the minerals, they're from rock, stone, earth, and dirt. So your best supply would be out of a creek or a stream, right? So, your reference to 12s, yeah, exactly. So, also on top of all that a circle or cycle is 360 degrees, and it's just, it could be a 12-hour clock, it could be a 12-month year. It can be quartered into 4 sections for like seasonal, almost kind of thing. But when you look at the relation to the minerals to this 9-month gestation period, and them being related to the signs and which ones you're in and out of the womb for in that first circle or cycle, why are we lacking those? In the 9 months gestation, we lack 3 or 4, depending where you are on the cusps. So, maybe just in these ancient times, especially back to pre-Greek written Egypt and to Kemet, the masters of all these sciences and whatnot, we might have just been in there in gestation for a whole 12 months, received them all, and that's referencing Carey's work. That's the bridge he wrote on that one book cover. I could dig it out, or could put up a graphic of it called Bridge, and in the book referenced and called Bridge to God. So it's a matter of putting together his fragmentation.
And I think it's a matter of fragmentation. I think the fall into physical reality and the duality, it was meant to at one point fall into that part where we come out a bit fragmented so that we have a wholeness to pursue.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I was going to actually also say that, like, if you look at the evolution of mankind, since whenever back, even, doesn't matter, Industrial Revolution, way before that, since anciently written, and, it will crumble to materialism from the, Emerald Tablets of Thoth or whatever. The way man has evolved, and Mother Nature studies and watches mankind and what the interests are, and she tweaks humans to go that direction. It's that man has always wanted to speed up things for cheaper money in a shorter period of time, can be modified and chemically this and that. It's everything that we see today, the modification of food and everything, so Mother Nature way back in ancient times just might have went, okay, you don't like the being geniuses, each and every one of you, and being able to tap into full consciousness and all of knowledge, because you're all, these beings that are able to use all of those other senses above, what we've been stripped down to today, being just the 5 material senses. Everything is sped up for man to profit and blah, 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 right? So it really makes sense that maybe at some point Mother Nature went, oh, you don't like 12 months and being geniuses? Well, we'll give you 9 months and we'll let you figure it out.
A defect to overcome. And it's been amazing. Like I said, the first time I introduced the salts into my system, the 12, I felt like I never did before. I really did feel like I was like, wow, is this what it feels like to feel complete in a sense? Because like I said, it was within like 3 or 4 days, just instant relief of ailments that I thought would plague me my whole life, and just like a weight lifted off your shoulders. And it was just it was very surprising, because a lot of the times, you go into these things thinking, like, is this going to be in my mind? Is this just a placebo? Like, but it turned out, just from previous, from research and just from case by case study, it seems that this is all been spot on, as above, so below, holy science.
Yeah, totally. That's cool that you say that, dude, because like, that's when I first, I think it might be about 18 years ago, but that's when I discovered this, and I started studying it, and I tried it on myself. And the same kind of thing, it's like, holy crap, dude. I started with the 12-in-1, right? Bio 12, and complete cellular restore. And with, all of us with today's lifestyles, the state of the water, the state of the food shelves, the environments we live in, the environments we work in, what we breathe in, that, we're just like bombarded with everything against us. And when you take these, especially that 12 in 1, you kind of, it's like you really connect inside to how you feel, and you really realize how many deficiencies you must have had because of how much better you feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's almost and you can see why when you're reading into some of the Western mystery books, um, it's interesting to see that they've recommended salts to people on the path, whether it be an Eastern yogi or let's say the term with someone Western who's trying to work on the ascension of the chrism or the kundalini or the energies, like they said in the Bible, Moses raised the serpent on the staff. The Bible being an anatomical anatomy book for the physical body and the happenings and occurrences in it. The characters take on a whole new life, each character representing a different function of psychology, glands, chemistry, hormones, and various activities in the body. So these inner pilgrimages of the East, right? They go on pilgrimages to the mountains, to various spiritual places. You learn later on in those traditions that those pilgrimage places are not just actually, let's say, literal places. For example, the Himalayas are not just a place. They refine. They say the Himalayas are in the head. Like the Mountain of Olives is in the head. The Mount Olympus, or you have the Garden of Eden in the heart chamber. You have Joseph and Mary taking on biochemically the pituitary gland and the pineal gland, coming from the monad or the father mother monad, the one becoming the two. And then you see that in the brain with the claustrum and the pineal and pituitary gland. And as they secrete those different hormones that flow down the two nerve centers of the spine to reach the bottom is in biological metaphor for the soul's descent from its 1 to 2 into the realm of duality and its journey back up. So the fluid flowing up and down the spine, also known as the Jordan River in occult anatomy. Thank you, Manly P. Hall. Thank you, George W. Carey, for showing the anatomical allegories of the physical mechanisms that are revealed through the literary stories. Right? So these are all pointing to restoring the body and mind and spirit to wholeness, hence salvation, salt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all just different interpretations of naturally, scientifically, what's happening inside of the body. It's also called all the invisible sciences and whatnot, right, dude? It's kind of like it's all the different cultures and whatever's interpreting it into their way to sort of claim it and whatnot. But yeah, everything, bottom line that's repeated in all of these, it's all just allegorically written to the underlying science for just those who know and those who don't matter type of thing. But yeah, reference to 12s in all of the writings, religions, culture, that's reference to the 12 astrological signs, however it's written. And yeah, lots of references to 7, which are the 7 visible moving objects to the naked eye before telescopes, when all the astrology and whatnot was discovered way back in ancient times. It's shown, right? So 7s in all of the writings are reference to the 7 visibles to the naked eye,
and in the body 12. The 7 glands.
So it's like, okay, yeah, and it's just, it's interesting. As much as culture and country and religion is as different as all the different almost genres of music, but bottom line, music has one effect on all people, so to speak, and all those other writings that are using like you say, all these, it's awesome. That's like the most incredible writings on the planet are all of those type of texts and literature that are able to really just mask over and veil all of this ultra high. It's like that's the or that's the consciousness. That's the all knowing everything. That's the sun. And, that proves even more how the ancients were all just really ascended, and it's the way the planet was itself, right? And was that 12-month gestation, or, that would be pure and complete. You would be that full circle cycle, those full 12 months, circle cycle, that's complete. It's the thing is if you have like a circle and you cut it through the middle and split the bottom over 180 degrees and now it's a sine wave, well, right? That's a cycle too. So the circle's a cycle, it's a sine wave, even positive and negative below the center line. But yeah, cool stuff, buddy.
Yeah, man. Well,
right.
Great conversation, man. I think we'll wrap things up, and hopefully that gives people an idea of, what exactly biochemistry is and how it helps us to attain to wholeness in our ascension process, full regeneration of the mind, emotions, and body, so they can be in harmony with the above. And once the below is in a harmony with the above, then your destiny, your will, your true being will be able to manifest in its full potential. So that's what we're just trying to do, help people reach their full potential, bring the kingdom of heaven is within, you just have to find it. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'll just add that we all have lacking minerals, and premature births have more lacking minerals. But you can still figure out which it is from a premature birth. Having an expected due date is it's needed there. But, we were just looking at only Aries, really, right, buddy? And, we were trying to show that, the headstrong and the other attributes of being an Aryan. Is that the correct word? I think so. But it just shows that the mineral, way it's divided into those 12 sections on that circle with the human form in the center, and Aries points towards the top of the head, which is the cerebrum. And so these minerals are in control of physical, quote what we call mental today, and all those things, right? So having these lacks and understanding your lacking minerals, which can be done through chart and whatnot, actually it makes you able to see why you have those types of things and whatnot, that those specific lacks are prone to being deficient in point to. That's it for me, dude. Cool.
Yeah, man. Hey, great show. Thanks for coming on, man.